If you have an interest in horses and love learning more about horses, the horse industry, teaching, or even managing your own horse business, then you're in the right place. We would love you to join us on our mission, which is to improve the lives of horses around the world through the education of riders, handlers, and trainers. So get comfortable, listen in, and enjoy.
This has been another episode sponsored by Online Horse College. If you haven't had a look at the wide variety of equine-specific accredited courses, then go to onlinehorsecollege.com and I'll see you over there. Our guest today is Tarli, Della. Tarli's been an all-round rider, but she's really becoming more of a dressage specialist now. She's a dressage specialist competitor, instructor and trainer. How are you today, Tarli?
I'm really good, thanks, Glenys. How are you today?
Good. Wonderful. Thank you, Tarli. Tarli, now we start off with a favourite quote. Have you got one for us?
Yeah, probably the one that I use the most in my coaching is, if you always do what you always did, you'll always get what you always got, which is a Kira Kirkland quote.
Yeah, and a good one too, and quite right.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure that you would have heard it from somewhere and it would have been appropriate at the time, or tell me when you first heard it.
Definitely. I think I probably first heard it from my first dressage coach. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, she really challenged me in the way to sort of thinking outside the square. And, yeah, I had quite a tricky mare at the time. And, yeah, it was just very relevant at that point in time of our training. So
Yeah. And do you use it for your students now?
I do, yes. I use it very regularly, which is quite funny. I always smile when I say it as well, because it is one of those ones that I always kind of use. There's so many quotes around that I love to use, but that one's definitely probably the one that I use the most frequent.
Yeah. And then, Tarli, when you first started with horses, what are your earliest memories?
My first earliest memory of horses was I had a horse across the road who I called Lightning and would cut up carrots and apples to it. And, yeah, I just felt I've always loved animals and I just fell in love with horses especially. Mm-hmm. And I think, too, because my parents tried to steer me away from the horse-crazed kid, that sort of was a bit of a driving force to me to find out more about it and that sort of thing. So that was definitely one of my first earliest memories of horses.
Yeah, and good to have a horse just across the road that you could go over and feed as well.
Very much, yeah. My uncle, mum's side of the family's from sort of outback Queensland in Winton, and I remember as kids going up to Uncle Frank's place, and he had horses and has a big cattle station out there, and he had a little pony called Bubbles and I think that was probably the first horse that I ever got to ride.
Yep.
And, yeah, I was just in awe with, the smell of the horses and the smell of the leather and how amazing these majestic creatures sort of were to me as a little kid. So they just looked awesome. So
Yeah. And was it, I know that your parents tried to keep you away from the horses, but was it a natural progression that you then decided to work with horses and coach? How did that journey work?
Yeah, I've always loved kids and I always sort of wanted to be a teacher or something along those lines. And I went overseas and worked with horses over there and came home and was just working in an office job and doing that sort of thing. And I wanted to get into teaching. And then my coach at the time sort of said, well, have you ever thought about, combining your love for horses and your passion for horses with coaching? And I hadn't at that stage. And she sort of gave me the idea about trying it. And that's sort of 10 years ago now. So I haven't looked back and put everything into it. And just, I tell everyone now that I don't have a job. It's a lifestyle, and it is an absolutely fantastic lifestyle. And I wouldn't change it for the world. It's really, really good. So so that's sort of how I sort of fell into it. Yeah, like I said, 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's good. And if someone else wanted to not fall into it, but they had a goal to become a coach or to work with horses, because you've worked overseas with horses, what were you doing there?
Yeah, so I worked on a stud just probably about 40 minutes out of London, and that's actually where I sort of first got to see what dressage was about. I didn't really know what dressage was prior to that. And so I was just mucking out stables and saddling up horses and taking care of horses. And I actually got to ride a little bit over there at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just amazing. I remember going to a show with a lady, Sarah Dwyer Coles, and seeing, so this would be going probably 15, 18 years ago now, and seeing Carl Hester warm up back in those days. And I distinctly remember he was on a chestnut horse with a big white blaze and 4 white socks. And just watching him in the warm-up was just amazing. And I saw him do this amazing sort of lengthen trot across the warm-up. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, like I really want to learn how to ride like that. That's just, amazing. And unfortunately, I had an accident over there where I broke my leg and had to come home. But that's sort of when I, really sort of wanted to find out more about dressage and follow that sort of passion that I saw over there, was lucky enough to see. So
yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good. Now, if someone starts with horses, what do they need to get started?
Sure. So I think my dad always talks about the 3 Ds, which is determination, dedication, and discipline.
Yep.
And I also think, you need those 3 sort of attributes as a person, and also like sacrifice. It is quite hard to initially sort of set up and get into the industry. So you do have to sacrifice, maybe socialising with friends and that initially to make a good go of it. And just have, a really good support crew around you that are going to encourage you and, follow your dreams a bit, which, I'm very, very fortunate that my parents are amazing and they have backed me 110%, which is, would be forever grateful for that. Yeah, but definitely as I said, my dad, the 3 Ds for sure.
Yeah, I'm sort of thinking about your initial sacrifice and sacrificing your social life, but you end up, if you're working with horses and working in the industry, you tend to have a different sort of social life, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have a different sort of social life with other people that enjoy that sort of social life anyway. Yeah.
And that's exactly right. So, you do sort of sacrifice a bit at the start, but in the long run, it does sort of change around. You sort of surround yourself with people of similar interest and, I've got such a beautiful clientele, which I'm very, very, very fortunate to have. And you do get to know them on a personal level and befriend and hang out with people that are similar-minded to yourself, which is just fantastic.
Yep.
It's definitely a good encouragement thing between clients and students.
Yeah, it becomes a real team thing, doesn't it? It becomes,
definitely.
Yeah, all the people that are involved.
Yeah. I love instilling that in my clients. I try to, when we go out and compete together, we generally sort of park together and, have that, how did you go? And, how, where can you do that better? And, it's so, I'm so proud as a coach to be able to be out there with just such amazing people that are really friendly, really genuinely want others to succeed, which is good. I like to sort of definitely instill that in my little community that I have, and then hopefully people will catch on to that. So
what do you think? Oh, you've sort of said it anyway about about the best thing about working in the horse industry. What's the best thing? Do you think? Is it everything you've already said? Yeah.
No, well, there are so many things. Like, I love the fact that I get to work outdoors. I love the fact that I get to work with amazing horses every day, amazing people every day, and that I'm constantly learning and being challenged on a daily basis. Like, there's not a day that I go outside and I haven't learnt something or been a part of someone's journey where they've enjoyed a session and finally got a breaking through a light bulb moment in, with horses, and, to be able to be a part of that, of someone else's journey, that's a pretty amazing experience to have and be. So I just love it. I couldn't imagine life any other way. I could, there's no way I could go back to a 9-to-5 job. I'm just very, very fortunate and blessed and forever grateful for being able to do what I do. So,
Tarli, tell us about, you've said your parents really back you a lot. Who else has helped you?
Yeah. My influences of my life in my horse careers, and I think, once again, it could be the 5-year-old that comes for their very first riding lesson and the beaming smile on their face. To me, that's an influence because, I always try to never lose sight of why I do what I do and to remember what it was like to actually, why do I like horses? To go back to those really early memories and think about that on a daily basis is a pretty cool thing. I definitely feel like my influences with my personal riding career, my biggest one would definitely be my current coach, who's Nicole McGoffin.
Mm-hmm.
She pushes me beyond my belief, and yet she still has belief that I can do it. And, I just, every time, because obviously she's in Queensland and I'm in Adelaide, so she only comes sort of down every couple of months. So just when I think she's raised the bar, the next time I see her, she's raised the bar again. And, she's just constantly challenging me and I love it. And I also really like how we have got a really strong friendship as well. And yet we can still, when it comes to the 60 by 20, it's business.
Yep.
And then we can have a bit of a laugh and a joke on a personal level as well. So that's kind of, I really like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good. And important for a coach, isn't it, to say, hang on, this is business. You're paying me to do my job.
Definitely.
And I'm here to do my job. I'm happy to be your friend. I'm happy to do all the social thing and everything else, but you're paying me and this is my job. Yep.
And I was always taught, early on in the piece, when it comes to business, you have clients and you don't have friends. Yep. And for me, as the person that I am, I'm people tell me I'm quite a friendly person and I've sort of adapted my business so that I can have the friendship but also have the business as well. So, and I think it's a very fine line between a lot of people because, you will hear people say, you can't be friends with your clients and blah, blah, blah. But I think, for the person that I am, that's very, very hard for me. And some people, you need to be their friends as well. So you need to know what's going on at a personal level to be able to help with their riding and training as well. Yep.
No, that's good. Now, what about horses though? Have you got a particular horse that you'd like to talk about or a couple?
Yeah, so I've currently got 6 horses. So I have 3 school horses, which are used for the business, and 3 of my own sort of personal horses that I compete on. By far, and you love them all for different reasons. I always get asked by the kids' parents, do you have a favourite child? Like, no. But the one that's definitely stood out a million times over would be Alfie. Mm-hmm. He's 18 years old now. I bought him as an 8-year-old, and he was sort of my first real serious dressage horse.
Yep.
And the reason why he's influenced me the way that he has, I swear this horse can talk. In the early days, I would hit the deck a lot, and he would turn around and sort of give me the look of "get better, sweetheart." And I definitely, and it was, I had to toughen up and dust myself off and pick myself up and learn really quickly to get better at training, at riding, at understanding dressage. And, with the likes of Nicole, she's really implemented a really clear training system for me, which has helped me not only with my personal riding skills, but with my coaching as well.
Good.
So, and super confident, which definitely helps people and horses. So, Alf definitely would be, and he's a type of horse, he oozes presence. He's big, he's black, he's got personality to burn, and he's definitely been the one that's influenced me the most, because I think a lot of people when, and whether it's in horse riding or personal things, when you do sort of hit rock bottom, you can kind of go one of 2 ways. So I just sort of, was able to prove to myself that I do want this life and I do want to ride and I do want to be the best trainer that I can be and ride, at the highest level that I can go to with my horses. Mm-hmm. And, he sort of has instilled that into me, which is good. It just reminded me too, which is lovely.
Good. What about your proudest moment? Was that with Alfie or with your 5-year-old?
Yeah, so I think, even little things like, I've got a 3-year-old who's just been at the trainers or the breakers, and riding him for the first time, that's been amazing. Banjo, my 8-year-old, he was sort of my first horse that I started from scratch myself.
Mm-hmm.
And, getting a first 9 in a dressage test with Banjo was just, like those sort of moments, that I produce that. And, with the training and everything, they are really proud moments with them.
Yep.
Occasionally I'll let clients sit on Banjo and Alfie as well, and being able to teach on them, that's a pretty amazing thing to be a part of. When you've trained the horse to, say, do a shoulder in, and then you get a rider that's never ridden a shoulder in, then ride that on your horse, and they get the feel of it and the understanding of it. That too, like I get a bit of a proud mummy moment when I see the client have, a big smile on their face, and then my horse, have the understanding and the training there. That as well is a really proud thing for me to be able to achieve that.
Yep, for sure. Now, Tarli, I'm sure that it hasn't all been wonderful. I'm sure there's been challenges along your way. Tell us about your biggest challenge that you've had along the way.
I think probably the risk of failing, and not being able to do this, because, it is a very hard, it is a lifestyle. Yes, it is a fantastic lifestyle, but, it is hard work, and it's 24/7. And so I think the fact of failing in that aspect, I was told when I started that 1 in 3 small businesses fail. Mm-hmm. And, when I was told that, I never wanted to be that one. I think too, because, I desperately, I don't want to go back to a 9-to-5 job. So I think that would be sort of like a concern. But, at the moment it is fantastic, and business is amazing. I have a waiting list and that sort of thing. So, it is the build-up that I've created over the last 10 years has got me to where I am today, and I'd like to, keep it going the way that it is, which is great. So mm-hmm. I think everyone's sort of risk, isn't it, would be, because it is a pretty big, when you run a business yourself, is that sort of risk of failing people and failing your support crew as well.
I think so. So for someone because you learn to coach, and that is great if you're going to walk into a job, but when you tackle on a new career plus starting your own business, of course it's challenges. But if someone else is going to do that, what would you advise someone then that was about to take on that type of challenge, starting a new career and starting a new business?
Yeah, I would, if you're fortunate enough, which I was at the start, to be guided by someone. Mm-hmm. So, if someone you can, if your current coach at the time would be willing to guide you a little bit, that would be, just to take you under their wing, that would be a good little insight. I remember when I first started, I would just go and watch as much as I could and learn, which I still do today, just go and watch lessons and learn from things, and never be closed-minded. You have to be a very open-minded sort of person to be in this industry, and be very honest. So honest to yourself, honest to your clients. Yeah, so my biggest advice to people would be that wanted to start out in the industry, just seek help first. Mm-hmm. It's not like I would never recommend people, if they had a permanent position in something, you couldn't just quit your job and just be like, okay, I'm going to be a horse riding instructor today. It doesn't really work like that. But I think, through the support of EA as well, go out and find some local coach educators that you can learn from to further your skills, definitely. And just watch and learn, absorb.
And I think that's another thing. Once you become qualified as an instructor, that's your first qualification. It doesn't mean that you know everything. That just means that you know enough to be professional, to start, but then you've got to keep learning. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And never, you never shut yourself off to learning something new. Like I said, sometimes the 10-year-olds teach me something in a day and I'm like, oh, cool, wow, I hadn't thought of it like that. And, so you can never, ever be completely know everything about horses. I remember Sandra Pearson-Adams, who I was fortunate enough to work with in the early days, she always used to say to me, it takes 3 lifetimes to learn how to ride a horse. And I often think about that because, if it takes 3 lifetimes to learn, how long does it take to actually learn how to coach someone? Yeah, so just, be open-minded and go and watch things. And it doesn't just have to be the discipline that you're interested in either. Go and watch some Western, go and watch some natural horsemanship, go and watch some show jumping, and listen to, go and watch different presenters. We're lucky enough in this country now that we get some amazing we have some amazing coaches Australia-wide, which, often are at the Equitanas and things like that. But, go and if you get the opportunity to go and watch some international presenters, do it.
Yep, for sure.
Because you never know what you learn.
Well, that's right. And you always go with an open mind. You're going to pick up something.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
Wait, can you hear anything? No? That's because we're waiting for someone with a good quality horse product to be advertised here. If that's you, then contact us, horsechats@horsechats.com, and we'll send you the details. Thanks. Now, thinking about yourself as a coach, what's a common fault that you see? You've got a new rider or you see horses at competitions and riders at competitions as combinations. What do you think, is just something that you often see and you're often asked to fix?
Yeah, so on a rider's, more the rider psychology, I think, and for human nature, we tend to doubt ourselves a lot. So I try to, and I know personally as well, how much doubt was created in the early stages of me versus now, the confidence I have in my understanding of the training and that sort of thing. So that's what I try to instill in my clientele that's why I apply the keep simple stupid, so that, they do have a good understanding of, what they're asking for. Probably the most common fault that I see is the lack of understanding of contact, which is definitely, I feel, a lack of looseness through the horse's body. So Nicole definitely has, everyone's sort of, I guess, passionate about one thing, and hers, fortunately for me, is looseness. And Alf too, he's quite short in the body, so he's not so strong at being supple through his body. So, I had a bit of a triple whammy with those guys. So definitely trying to work on suppleness laterally and longitudinally to help with the contact. Everyone's, wants the pretty outline and all of those sort of things. But I think once they work on the softness through the horse's body, then the contact itself gets better. So, it's not, gone are the days, oh God, I remember back pony club days, to get the horse on the bit, you just sort of, I don't know, this horrible, pull their heads in. And that's what, a lot of people were trained sort of, 30 years ago. Thank Christ, we've come such a long way as a human race with developing horses that, it's not done that way now. So I try to instill, with the contact, getting looseness through the horse's body to establish a better contact in the rider's hands. So,
and it's lack of knowledge, isn't it? Because people who don't understand dressage or don't understand horses, they talk about, those horses that tuck their head in, and they don't realise that it's really coming from behind, and there's so much more than just tucking their head in. It's a lot of other things as well. Yeah,
definitely. And I think too, it is that lack of knowledge that then creates doubt in riders, and then there's that doubt that in the understanding of the training. So our job as coaches is to give the clients the knowledge so that they understand the training of working the horse correctly from the back end to the front end through a loose body. So it's not, like I said before, it's not just about pulling a horse's head in anymore, thank gosh.
Yep, for sure, yeah. Yeah, and you start to work on everything else, and all of a sudden, the horse gives the appearance of not tucking their head in, but, if you work on everything else, then that all just comes together. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure.
Tarli, tell us about a book. Have you got a book that you use yourself as a basis or one you can recommend to our listeners?
Yeah, I always refer, and I often hear myself saying, referring clients to getting The Principles of Writing.
Yes.
Which is, it's just one of those books. And I remember when I first got it and read it, and I just thought, wow, this is amazing.
Mm.
And then I read it again probably about 2 years later, and I understood so much more.
Yep.
So I think it's one of those books where, it will keep teaching you things. The more you learn, go back and read it again, and you'll be like, oh, cool, I get that a little bit more. And I definitely feel that, that's definitely the one that I recommend to my clients the most, and I refer back to it a lot. So that would be the one that I would recommend for sure.
It's certainly a very well-written book, and it'd have to be one of our most recommended books as well.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. No, that definitely by far, it's probably one of the first sort of dressage books that I've read.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I know it's got a few different elements throughout it, but yeah, just the dressage side of it, it's a cool one. You sort of read it again, you're like, oh, fantastic. I understand that a little at a deeper level, I guess.
Yes.
So, which is good.
And remember, you can find all the books recommended by our guests at horsechats.com/books. You can have a look at the guest page for the individual book they recommended, or just look at the recommended books by order of popularity at horsechats.com/books. Tarli, what are you looking forward to now? You've got your 3-year-old that's just broken in. You've got, banjo coming along. What else are you looking forward to, or is that the main things?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely want to be out competing on banjo at a medium level this year, with the aim to getting over to the Victorian Dressage Festival at the end of this year.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sort of been a bit of a goal for me for the last couple of years with him. And I just want to, the ultimate goal of, having my first horse that I started myself and taking him through to FEI, that would be a bit of a long-term goal for me.
Mm-hmm.
With Aston, it will be, exactly the same. He's clearly different personality to Banjo, so he's going to be a bit more like Alfie, I think. So I'd like to just sort of see, we'll see how he goes with the young horse classes. I'll just sort of play that one by ear. So if he's ready mentally and physically for them, I'd like to give them a go here in South Australia. So our state finals generally in January. If he's not ready either physically or mentally, I won't do it. But if he is, we'll give a go at that. Banjo as well is lucky enough to be going over to be Horse of the Year over in Sydney, like the Nationals.
Yep, good.
We just did a show a couple of weekends ago, got qualified for that for next year.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll try to get over to that as well, which will be good. So I just really want to sort of get him sort of interstate a couple of times, which would be nice. So that's a bit of a goal for me.
Okay, that's great.
In the future.
Good. We look forward to hearing from you and knowing how brilliantly he's gone. That'll be good.
Thank you.
All right, Tarli, would you like to summarise your philosophy with horses now, just into a couple of sentences, into a message for our listeners?
Yeah, I guess don't ever lose sight of why you started. I think along the way, we can sort of alter things a little bit, but just don't ever lose sight of that little girl that had that ridiculous passion and nagged her mum and dad to just go next door to see the horse, or cut up carrots to go next door to see the horse, or don't lose sight of her, because she's a force to be reckoned with, I think.
Yeah. Okay, now Tarli, how can people contact you?
So my company is Bluestone Equestrian Centre, so probably best, we've got a Facebook page. Message me through there. That would be the best way to contact.
Okay, and just if you've missed it, those details will be on horsechats.com/Tarli Della Torre, or just go to horsechats.com and search for Tarli, Tarli, and you'll get those details. Tarli, thank you for the call today. It's been very good talking to you. I've certainly enjoyed it. I look forward to following you and seeing how you go with your horses over the next, year, many years, and look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you so much for your time, Glenys. I really appreciate it.
That's okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Now, if you're still there, you probably know that I'm absolutely passionate about education within the horse industry. That's why I host this podcast. My other venture is Online Horse College. Have a look now at onlinehorsecollege.com and I'll see you over there.
Remember that our comments and instructions are general in nature and do not take into consideration your individual horses or your individual ability and circumstances. If you enjoyed this podcast, then please leave your comment below.